You know how they say that your mom will like whatever you make for her and it's the thought that counts and all that stuff? Okay, it's probably true, but why not actually make her a card that she likes and that's actually super easy and super cute and doesn't require you to actually know how to draw? Let's do that. Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and in this video, we're gonna do a super quick, super easy tutorial that requires no drawing skill to make your mom a card for Mother's Day that she is actually gonna like. Let's just do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do this on a black piece of cardstock. I just took a piece of cardstock and folded it into the shape of the card I want. If you can, I recommend having it in a longer, narrower shape for this specific design we're gonna do, but it really could be any card you want. And I'm gonna use a white Uni-Ball Signo gel pen. So I'm gonna do white writing on a black card, but you could do black writing on a white card. You could do any colors you want. It doesn't matter what materials you're gonna use as long as you have a card and a pen. And then you're also gonna probably want a ruler and a pencil. So step number one is gonna be to sketch out your design on the paper. So what we're doing is we're writing the word mom in big, bold block letters, sort of like those bubble letters that you would have done in school when you were a kid. So what I like to do is kind of give myself a guideline about a ruler width away from the top and a ruler width away from the bottom. So generally when I do this, I kind of draw out squares for my letters. So I've got that much for the M, a little bit smaller for the O, but not a ton smaller, and then another M. Just doing this first to make sure that I'm sort of centered on the card here, okay? And then sketch in your letter. And again, you want them to be really nice and big and bold because we're gonna fill them in with the design. So you don't want them to be like little flimsy letters that don't have much room for decorating. Okay, then once you have your design drawn, I'm gonna show you the exact little floral doodles we're gonna use to fill it in. Again, you don't need to know how to draw for these. So I just got a piece of scrap paper here. I'm gonna show you the exact doodles we're doing. So the first one, draw a line with a little triangle on top and then one leaf coming out of it and then a leaf beside it. Same on the other side. And one more like this. And then you're just gonna add these little stems coming out with a circle on them as like another little kind of leaf doodle. Okay, so that's item number one. Item number two, the next most complicated one, and then we're gonna get easier, is just another line. This is so simple. 3 little loops for that top part, almost like a little mini cloud, and then some bigger leaves coming out from the bottom. To me, this is like a little tulip or something. Then you're gonna do a circle in the middle and that classic little flower that everybody learned to draw in elementary school. So simple. Then we're gonna do a vine, so kind of a curvy line, a leaf at the top, and then leaves coming out of the sides. And then lastly, all we're gonna do is this little shape with a line through it as a leaf. And of course, at the end, we're gonna do little dots, but I don't think I really need to show you how to do that. You're just gonna make dots. So taking all of these things, we're gonna fill up each letter of this word with those elements, and it's gonna build up our whole letter. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so the goal with this is to fill up the whole letter and not have an outline around your letter. So the flower doodles are gonna fill up every inch of space on this, and it's gonna bring the shape of the letters out. So what you wanna do is make sure that you're hitting the edges of your design so that it gives it that look of an edge without having to actually draw a line. So as you're drawing in your floral doodles, keep that in mind, that the more stuff that's touching the edges, the better it's gonna look. So I'm gonna start in this bottom left corner of my M, and I'm gonna draw this doodle. So I'm just gonna draw that curved stem up with the little cloud shape. And then I'm gonna add my leaves. Notice how I'm hitting the side of my M, but I made sure not to go over it. So don't go over your lines. It's kind of like coloring book. where you're doodling within those confines, okay? And these, again, these little doodles are so simple and you can edit them however you need to fit within that shape, and it's not gonna look weird once we fill up this whole thing. So don't stress too much about what each individual flower looks like. I'm gonna keep doing some of these bigger ones. I'm gonna do like a bunch of those bigger ones around my letters, just kind of wherever I can. And then we're gonna use the smaller ones to fill in the gaps. So just start drawing in these two throughout your letters. Okay, so right now it's sort of still looking like nothing, but now we're gonna use these other elements to fill in some gaps. So I'm gonna go with this vine because it's the next sort of bigger one, and we're gonna use that to fill in some of these spaces. So again, thinking about how you can get it to touch as many edges as possible. Let's say I wanted to go to this edge in my O, I would do sort of a curve here and run it basically up the inside of that O. So now when I fill in these gaps with my flowers, or my petals, they're running right against the edge of where that O would go, touching as many edges as possible. Okay, so keep filling in more of those and we'll come back to the next thing after. Okay, so now you're starting to see the buildup of this letter, and we're gonna go in and use this little flower and this leaf. You can do them in multiple different sizes, and we're just gonna fill in as many gaps as we can here. Again, keeping in mind the edge of your letters. So I just drew that flower in a way that I could hit both the right edge and the left edge with that flower by filling it in. So I'm going to do the same thing in as many places as I can. Sometimes it's challenging when you get to this phase because there's not a ton of room. So drawing them smaller is totally fine. Okay, and then lastly we're going to use that little leaf. So this one's really handy to get in some of the awkward edges where you want to make sure you've filled in your gaps. So you're touching all the edges you can. And this is where you're going to start to see it really come together in the shape of your letter. Okay, so now I'm pretty happy with the way this outline looks. If you look at it as a whole and you can sort of squint your eyes and look at it, you'll be able to see where you feel like you might have some gaps or where you think needs to be filled in a little bit more. And this is where we're gonna come back in with those little dots I talked about at the start. So all you're gonna do is go into any of the spots that you feel like need to be defined a little bit better and add some dots. And not just around the edges, but in the middle of the letters too. This kind of just finishes it all off and makes it look really nice and polished. And again, defines those edges a little bit better. Okay, that's it. And then the last step, of course, is going to be erase any pencil marks that are left over, but I'm not even going to do that on camera because my design is not dry. And I do not recommend doing this until you've let it sit for a while and you know for sure that you're not going to have any smudges. But voila, you have a card for your mom. If you like this video, I would love if you would hit the thumbs up button to let me know, and make sure you're subscribed because I put out 2 new videos every single week. Lastly, I would love to see your card if you try this out. So put a picture of it on Instagram, on your stories or on your feed, and tag the Happy Ever Crafter so that we can have a conversation about it because I love this design and I think you guys are gonna love it too. And I'll see you in the next video.